So we have some new knives to check out. We'll check these ones out here in 1 second. Let's start this off with the Besttech QQ. What a name. The Besttech QQ and 14C28N. This is a little gravity knife. So it's very similar to the Civivi Elementum button lock, where you push the button and swing it out. Now, it's either your style or not. I know a lot of people this would be appealing to. For me personally, it's not. It does kind of look like a bug, like a cicada or something. It does have a titanium mill pocket clip. And it is very, very smooth. So it's very easy to get out there with just a little roll of the wrist. Nice and centered. Rock solid lockup, no side to side, no up and down. 14C, I like the steel. The blade is a dagger style blade. It's not sharpened on the spine, so you can put pressure on the spine. The edge, you know, it's okay. It's a high angle edge, so, you know, it could be sharper, but, you know, it's fine. Not a fan of the plunge grind and sharpening choil, but, you know, there's a lot of little things that I can nitpick that doesn't really matter, you know, on this particular knife. Kind of like I guarantee it's going to fail, obviously. But I don't really hold that against this one because there's no reason for you to ever put this thing through any impact. And I don't think that that will reflect from pressure. Yeah, I'm pushing really hard. So I have no doubt that, you know, it's not going to fail from your finger strength. You know, it's more from the vibrations and the impact more than the actual pressure. So, you know, I think it'll be just fine. It is kind of a 3.5 finger knife. You could cram yourself up there if you really needed to, but it's a pinch grip knife. This is what it's for. Little pinch grips. Now, some negatives, you know, besides, you know, the fact that it fails, which to me is not even a negative. The clip shifts. So it came loose pretty quickly, and even after me tightening it down, it's loose. Not loose, but it shifts. The next thing is the sharpen, choil, and plunge grind. I already said that. I don't like that. It's going to create a smile when you sharpen it. Not a huge big deal on this. You know, I know it's not. You know, this isn't something you're going to be sharpening to death. It's something you're probably going to sharpen once or twice. You know, and it should, you know, hold an edge for what you're going to put it through. Just opening things up here and there. But if you did have to sharpen it up a bunch of times, it wouldn't do too well with that type of plunge grind. And, you know, the stop pin is behind the plunge grind. Not a big deal on this knife, but normally I complain about that. But all in all, you know, it's cool. You know, it's just not my style. So there's nothing wrong with that. Not everything has to be my style. Next is the Besttech Nixie 3. So this is a Todd knife and tool design, and boy, oh boy, did they grind this thing well. Very thin, nice, deep, hollow ground blade. Not sure if it'll come over the camera really well, but it is very well ground. Nice and thin, nice crowned spine. Yeah, they did a good job with that geometry. The blade steel's S35 VM. You do have the forward finger choil, titanium frame lock. Looks like T8 hardware all the way around. Love to see that. Even on the steel lock bar insert, we got a lanyard hole back there. The back spacer, you can see it's like a floating, it's kind of like a floating back spacer where you can see through it. It's pretty cool how they did that. These definitely look very futuristic. A lot of Todd knife and tool designs do. You know, they kind of hold that that futuristic look with most of their designs. Now, as far as the action goes, you have flipper tab, which pretty comfortable. The detent's not strong, but it's also not weak. Yeah, good detent. Oh yeah, very good detent. I'm sure I could fail it if I wanted to. Yeah, but it's fine. Reverse flick. Not bad at all. It's a good reverse flick. It has the fuller, so you can go off the fuller or the hole. Thumb flick, you kind of hit this corner, but you can do it. Yeah, good action. Access to the lock bar. You can see they opened up the inside on both sides, so you can disengage. And it is pretty smooth. Feels like it needs to break in, but Nothing wrong with that. It's pretty normal. Ergonomics. It's a 3-finger knife if you're back here, but that's why you have this. So you can get a full grip on it as long as you're using that choil. You can also put your middle finger in it, you know, if you wanted to get some more leverage down into that tip, or if you're going to use it for a pinch grip or whatever. All in all, I do like the look of it, the aesthetics, you know, and the idea behind it. You know, I've always been attracted to the Todd knife and tool designs, and this one's no exception. It's definitely an attractive knife to me. Some people are not going to agree. Some people don't like that futuristic look. I like that it's kind of like a futuristic yet modern look, which is what I love. And I also like the mechanicalness to it. It looks very mechanical and, you know, like a machine. I like that. Now, my nitpicks. Well, one is the plunge grind and sharpening choil. Now, there isn't one, right? So they did the forward finger choil, which is cool, but you can see right here already, it hasn't even been sharpened yet. You can already see how this edge right here is a little bit lower than right here. It's kind of dipping down just a little tiny bit. Now, as you sharpen, that will just get more and more pronounced. Over a long period of time, this will start recurving. Now, you can fix that by adding a little sharpening notch, which I absolutely can do. And it looks like there's plenty of room to do that. So no problems with that. And honestly, I would have no problem putting a little notch right there and just like a little tiny, tiny notch. That's all it would take. It'd be cool if it came from the factory like that. But, you know, some people, you know, I guess you can put it in if you like, if you want to or not. But when you sharpen it, you can sharpen all the way up to the plunge grind. But if you hit the plunge grind, it will create a smile right here. So you will cut into it. You're going to want to try to sharpen up the plunge grind. The problem is that always leads to recurving because this steel will always be thicker than this steel. So it'll be removed slower. It's just what happens. Anyways. You know, you can look at a lot of old-timer knives or even old kitchen knives, old Buck 110s. You know, they have that issue where over a long period of time of sharpening. Now, I'm not saying that they were professionally sharpened or the people that sharpened them knew what they were doing. You know, and most likely they didn't. You know, and it just happened to result like that over a long period of time. But, you know, as long as you throw a sharpening notch in there, you won't have that issue. Really, I'm not sure if I do have any other nitpicks, you know. There's no, the clip is not reversible, so you can use it left-handed, but you can't flip the clip. You know, that doesn't bother me, but I'm sure it does bother the lefties out there that might want to buy this. But all in all, you know, it's a cool little knife. Like I said, I can tell it needs to break in a little bit, but that's not a problem. You know, that's pretty common. So, like I said, I do dig the look, man. I usually do with Todd Knife and Tool Designs. Let's get to the next one. Now, the next one is an oldie but a goodie. The Rake P801. This, man, I've had a bunch of these, the steel one. So this is a new G10 version. So it's the same thing, 14C28N, same steel frame lock, but now with G10. And one issue that people had with the Rake P801 was how slippery it was. This definitely takes that away. It's nice and grippy. It feels like good quality G10. I like the feeling of this G10. And this is a relatively lightweight EDC, especially with the G10. With the steel frame lock, well, steel scales, it's quite a bit heavier, but this one's quite a bit lighter with the G10. Fantastic action. You know, these things, when they first came out, it was not common to get incredible action, especially at this price range. It was almost unheard of for this price range. So when this came out, it was like, holy cow, is this thing good? And it still is. Like I said, I've had a bunch of them. I've never had the G10 versions, so that's why, you know, I'm showing it and talking about it. That's why I bought it. But as far as the steel body ones, the plain ones, the original ones, I wound up always giving them away because they were so good. And I know that, and also there's something else, that one thing there's also one other thing that's a little different, and I'll talk about that here in 1 second. But I liked them so much that I gave them away to people that, you know, I wanted to have a good knife, because this is a solid knife. It's very slim, nice size. It's a full size knife, very slicey. Yeah, all around, man, just really cool. Good access to the lock bar, nice and grippy, nice solid lockup. I have already spine whacked it. Now, the one other little difference is the thumb studs on this is way better than the original one. I personally had an issue with the original one's thumb studs. I didn't really say it that much, but just over time, like, I found myself kind of getting annoyed, like it was almost, they were too slippery. These ones are much grippier. Unless if they just feel that way because of the coating, I'm not sure. But I do remember, like, those thumb studs, man, just being, like, kind of slippery. These ones are not slippery at all. The detent's very well tuned. You know, this thing hasn't even broken in yet. But all in all, very cool knife, man. I've always loved the P801. I love the look of it. I love the style of it. And that is another thing, you know, like, the people... It has kind of a Sebenza look. So when it first came out, people were calling it like, oh, that's a Sebenza clone, and which is ridiculous because it's nothing like a Sebenza. But it does hold some aesthetics that are kind of similar, you know, which are really cool. Let's get to the last one. So the next one is the new Demco 80-20.5 Cub. And here is the slicer. The 80-20.5 slicer. So you can see them next to each other. It is quite a bit smaller. However, you still can get a full 4-finger grip, surprisingly. And you still can choke up. It is thinner and slicier. So, you know, the geometry is quite a bit better on this one. Let's just really quickly look at this. So we have 126 thousandths on that blade stock thickness, and then this one is 93 thousandths. So that's really nice. And then behind the edge, with their edge angle, is like 23 thousandths. So still thick behind the edge, but the blade geometry is much, much better. It does come with a thumb stud deployment or this hole deployment. I do love the blade shape. I like the style of it. You know, shark locks are really good. They're nice and strong, nice and durable locks. Hopefully this doesn't fail now that I said that. I originally got this for Kara, but she doesn't like it, so I'm just going to keep it. But yeah, 20 CV blade steel. I think this one's 20 CV as well. Yeah, both are 20 CV, made in Taiwan. The ergonomics on this, for being such a compact knife, is actually pretty good. However, I don't like the scales. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of these scales. You know, they just feel like plastic, which is what they are. They're Ultim scales, but if you look at this one's grippier. So it actually has traction. This one does not have any traction. It's very, very slick. Now, that might be something you might like or somebody might like, and it's not bad. You know, I don't want to make it seem like it's horrible. Like, it's not bad. You know, obviously this thing has finger grooves and stuff, so you're pretty locked in. You're not going to have to really worry about it slipping or anything, but it's a texture thing, right? So, you know, some people love a nice smooth handle, others don't. You know, I kind of prefer more of a textured handle, but I also like smooth handles sometimes. It just depends. And on this application, I'd probably put new scales on it if I could. Like, if I could get some aftermarket scales, I'd probably replace them, just, you know, because. And, you know, also, I'm not a big fan of Ultim. Like, Ultim's okay. I have a bunch of knives in Ultim, and I did buy both of these. So, you know, I've obviously bought plenty of Ultim, but I don't know. I'm just like on the fence with Ultim, you know. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not. And, you know, it's just, everybody's different, right? You know, some people love it, some people hate it. I'm like on the fence. So it's not that I hate it. It's not that I love it. Some things I think looks cool with it, you know, like when it's all blacked out, like, you know, like the hardware and everything. This actually doesn't look too bad with this color Ultim, but I kind of like the blacked out hardware, the blacked out blade, the blacked out everything with the Ultim. But yeah, I don't mind this too bad. But I do think that this thing would look really, really cool if it had some titanium scales or something. You know, the jimping's very, very well done. You know, it feels rock solid, you know, especially for how light it is, man. This thing is so, so light. So it's got some potential, and I can see why people would love it, you know, especially people that like this size of a knife. You know, this one's a little bit more up my alley as far as size goes. But the thing is, though, is that I can still get a full 4-finger grip on this. Surprisingly, I did not think I was going to be able to. So I thought this was going to be a not much, but I thought it was going to be a little bit smaller than what it is. Not that that's a good or bad thing, you know, it just is what it is. But I do like how much slicier it is. I wish this one was as slicey as this one. That would be really, really cool. You know, if they were both, or if this one was super, super slicey like this one, or a lot slicier, I should say. But anyways, just a quick look at some new knives. Work hard, stay tough. Until next time, peace.